Hey YouTube, JoeBoy here. So today I want to talk about Admiral Greenbull. And so Admiral Greenbull has another name, and I talked about Admiral Greenbull in the past, about a year and a half ago. One of the first, in fact I think it was my very first voice related theory. And I made the mistake of trying to pronounce his name in Japanese. I'm not gonna make that mistake again. We're just calling him Greenbull. But anyway guys, I feel like this is a good time to bring up Greenbull again, because the first video that I made was a really long time ago. It may have been good in content and information, was bad in pretty much every other way. And I do think that Greenbull could be very relevant to this story soon. And last thing before we get into this, when it comes to talking about Greenbull, a lot of people say pretty much similar things. But I wouldn't really be making this video if I felt like I couldn't add something to the conversation. And even videos recently from people like Pharaohspace, I disagree with various parts of what they were saying, even if I agree in general. But anyway, for those who may have forgotten, Admiral Greenbull is a admiral that exists in the story who we haven't met yet, we haven't seen yet, but we know that they exist. After the time skip, Akainu became the fleet admiral, and Aokiji left the Marines, leaving two open admiral spots. One of those was filled with Fujitora, and the other one by Greenbull. Both were selected via the World Government military draft. And we essentially only know two facts about Greenbull, two absolute facts. One is that according to Doflamingo, he is a beast. And according to Oda, he looks really cool, and Oda can't wait to draw him. So yeah, amazing and insightful video, right? I'm glad you guys enjoyed. If you liked it, then like it. No, just kidding. When it comes to Greenbull, the awesome thing about him, or about admirals in general, is that you can speculate a lot off of their names. Or I should say more specifically, their aliases. Because Greenbull is not his actual name. It's the name given to him. It's a code name given to all admirals. Like for instance, Akainu. Akainu isn't his real name. His real name is Sakazuki. Akainu means red dog. The same applies to all the admirals. You have Aokiji, whose real name is Kusan, Kizaru, whose real name is Borsalino, Fujitora, whose real name is Isho. And each one of these code names is comprised of two parts, one part color and one part animal. Akainu, red dog, Aokiji, blue pheasant, Kizaru, yellow monkey, Fujitora, purple tiger. And thus you have the name Greenbull, which makes a ton of sense. But as I was saying, you can derive a lot of information about the admiral given their codename. So let's start off with the colors. The colors directly represent the admiral's powers. Akainu as the red dog has the powers of magma. Aokiji as the blue pheasant has the powers of ice. Kizaru as the yellow monkey has the powers of light. And lastly, you have Fujitora as the purple tiger. Purple is representative of gravity, and he has that kind of fruit. So when it comes to a lot of Greenbull speculations, a lot of people give the Greenbull powers related to that of a bull. But I don't think that this makes sense given the precedent of what part of the name relates to the admiral's powers. A monkey has nothing to do with light, a dog has nothing to do with magma, a pheasant has nothing to do with ice, and a tiger has nothing to do with gravity. At least as far as I'm aware. The bull part should have nothing to do with Greenbull's powers. The only thing that is important is green. If Greenbull's naming scheme is consistent with all of the other admirals, his powers should be in some way representative or represented by the color green. And so from this point in time, the community has had a bunch of absolutely wonderful speculations. There's a ton of really good ideas. But some of these speculations, all represented by the color green, are that Greenbull has the powers of nature, Greenbull has the powers of time, Greenbull has the powers of like nuclear energy. Consider me a fan of them all. But of course, I, just like everyone else, have preferences for what it is that I believe. And I think that I can define why it is that I believe what I believe. And I think that there are several patterns which appeal to me and persuade me in a general direction. And so let's start off with the original admirals. All three of the original admirals, Aokiji, Akainu, and Kizaru, all had Logia devil fruits. And all of their Logia devil fruits were related to nature, or natural phenomenon. Ice, magma, and light. Oda is definitely the kind of person who likes his patterns. But the wrinkle comes in when we got introduced to the new Admiral Fujitora. Fujitora, unlike the previous 3 admirals, did not have a Logia Devil Fruit, does not have a Logia Devil Fruit. It is most probably a Paramecia. In addition to this, a whole new pattern forms in regards to how the powers are related of the admirals that we know so far. If the first 3 admirals were related by phenomenon of nature, Fujitora and Kizaru are related scientifically. You have gravity and you have light. And so this is pretty much how my brain works, right? If Oda likes his patterns, then he's not going to give Fujitora a Paramecia and then have the other 2 admirals be Logias, or he's not going to make Fujitora and Greenbull to be Paramecias and then have Kizaru as the outlier of Logia. No, I believe Oda is going to go all the way, make Kizaru a Logia, Fujitora a Paramecia, and Greenbull a Zoan. But we know that all the admirals get extremely overpowered fruits, so if Greenbull were to be a Zoan, it would make the most sense for him to be a mythical Zoan. And next, I also believe that Oda likes his parallels, he likes his connections way too much to not find a way to relate gravity, light, and whatever Greenbull's powers might be. He can be really creative here, but I expect some kind of connection. And so if you follow me up until this point in time, you should know that my general beliefs for Greenbull's powers are that his powers are in some way represented by the color green. It will be a mythical Zoan and in some way relatable to light and gravity. Which, as a side note, seems very oddly specific for a character whose powers we don't know. So what could this be? And so combining all of these various things, the best that I could come up with, and other people have also come up with this as well, is that Greenbull's Devil Fruit might be that of a forest spirit of some kind, a guardian of the forest. Some sort of mythical Zoan Devil Fruit which grants its owner some ability to control or relate to the powers of nature. And so if you're extremely perceptive, you'll notice that one connection is not entirely obvious. What does nature have to do with gravity and light? And so to put it simply, I believe that it relates via time. Gravity, light, time. Maybe a good example that I can give you to relate these 2 things is the Pokemon Celebi. Celebi, who is the guardian force spirit who also had the ability to control time. But before you get really mad, I am not speculating that Greenbull is going to have some ability to manipulate time. That seems way too overpowered, and I don't think that Oda's even going to touch it. But you ever wonder why time can be represented by the color green, the very same as nature? That's because historically, time and nature have been related. And it's not precisely time, it's more eternity. Because life itself is eternal. It goes on forever. And even if you're speculating that Greenbull will have abilities similar to the first Hokage from Naruto, the first Hokage being able to essentially make plants grow really fast, and he was completely overpowered in that show, that can be relatable to time. Because it's like you're taking a plant and moving it forward in the future of its growth. So you start off with a seedling, and almost as though you were manipulating time, it becomes a great oak. At the very least, I think that this is a very clever way to connect all of these various things. If you want a time-related Devil Fruit in One Piece without it being completely overpowered, this is an excellent way of nerfing it. But I suppose the next question is that, okay, Joyboy, you believe that Admiral Greenbull might have some sort of forest spirit-related Devil Fruit, capable of normal Zoan transformations as they all are, with whatever special power that is given to the mythical variety of it. Isn't that kind of fruity? And so I have 2 points that I want to make on this. First of all, there are many different kinds of forest spirits and many different kinds of mythologies, some fruitier than the others. You could have the king of the fruitcakes and make him a fairy, or you can turn him into something like an Ent from Lord of the Rings. Basically, it looks like a tree. I think that my preference for the design of whatever his forest spirit mythical Zoan Devil Fruit will be like would depend upon his gender, and his gender is the second point that I want to make. There's a lot of people that claim that Greenbull is most probably or most likely a male. And I suppose that this would be true from a pure shonen perspective, that just in general a lot of the strongest characters in shonen manga and anime are male. But aside from this, there is absolutely no evidence differentiating what gender he is. Some people create evidence, but it doesn't exist. At least as far as I am aware. And so we'll start off with his epithet, Green Bull. And if you don't know, a bull is a male cow. So already off the bat, his name lends to the idea that he is in fact male. But when you actually look at the kanji which comprises the name Green Bull, bull is technically a mistranslation, because the translation doesn't specify the gender of the cow. So another correct translation of the name greenbull would be green cow, or green ox. Ox being also a male cow who just happened to be castrated. So anyway, the point here is that people just chose bull because it sounds the coolest. Secondly, there's a lot of people say that Oda hinted at Green Bull's gender in an SBS, because he referred to Green Bull as a male, him. And so guys, I could be wrong here, but I've come to learn over the last few years in my experience dealing with translations is that for the most part you can ignore any theories relating to pronouns, because oftentimes they are artifacts of translation from Japanese to English. The Japanese do not use pronouns him, her, he, she, they like we do. So unless Oda referred to greenbull as greenbull-san or greenbull-chan, then I doubt that there was any specific evidence indicating any preference for any gender. But for sure, anybody who can read Japanese and has access to the RAWs for the SBS in which Oda talked about greenbull, who wants to clarify in the comments, I will pin a comment that I find enlightening. And so the reason that I took the time to clarify all of this is, guys, I don't think that you should be surprised if Green Bull does end up being a woman. While people will argue that, typically speaking, strong characters in shonen are male, in One Piece, Oda usually designates at least one spot for a female in whatever group. While this may not always be the case, it is the case an absurd number of times and has become more prevalent as the story has continued. For instance, you have the 4 Yonko, one of which is female. You have the 12 Supernova, one of which is female. Look at the Shishibukai, one of which is female. Look at the Straw Hat crew itself, we have 2 females. Look at the old generation of Marines, one of which is female, Suru. The only 2 groups that I can think of off of the top of my head that don't currently have a female member are the top tier of the Marines and the Gorosei. So for me, it honestly would make sense if one of these admirals, Green Bull, the only one left that we have yet to meet, is in fact a female. And so with this being stated, it wouldn't be out of the question for Green Bull then to have some sort of Celebi-like mythical zoan devil fruit appearance, fairy-like appearance, nymph, or the like. Keep this in mind, if Green Bull is in fact a woman, typically speaking in One Piece, Oda gives women devil fruits that are associated with their gender. Not all the time, but most of the time. Whether it be smooth skin, or soap, or laundry, mirrors, age, life, and many others that would take more words to describe, a lot of women have women-like devil fruits. So in this way, this is probably the best speculation for what Green Bull's powers would be if Green Bull is a woman. At least that I've heard. But anyway guys, I was hoping to take this further into what Green Bull's personality could be like, as well as when we could see Green Bull next. But we're already at 12 minutes, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end it off here and resume discussion on Green Bull at another time. Because honestly, if I end up covering it all, this video will be 25 minutes. So anyway, let me know what you think about what it is that I said here. Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Do you have other ideas? Just share them in the comments. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video. Subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.